Well, look what finally came in. Let's unbox this Quickshifter for my FZ09, get it installed, and go have some fun. So here it is. Here's what you get for the optional FZ09 Quickshifter. This also works with the FJ09. I don't believe it works with the XSR this year. Don't quote me on that though. Haven't seen anybody install it. Now this is extremely hard to find. I had this ordered since I bought the bike, which was, what, about 4 months ago now? And the back order kept getting pushed back and back and back. Every month it would be pushed back another month. I just went up to the dealer the other day and they said, oh, sorry, it's pushed back to the end of October now. Here we are in the middle of August. I said, you know what, screw this. I've seen them pop up on eBay from other dealers that had them in stock and put them up, and of course we're getting quite a premium for them. Well, kept an eye on it and said, you know what, I'm just going to spend a little bit of extra because it's, at this point, the difference between having it and not having it. So I don't care about spending the little extra now. It's worth it just to have it. If it would have been, you know, another week or so wait, of course I would have waited, but I just have no faith in Yamaha getting these out on time to everybody that's got them back ordered. So just taking a look at the parts here, we've got a custom zip tie, we've got some kind of rubber cap for a turnbuckle, we've got some warranty information, hopefully an install guide. I'll be going through all this, show you how to throw it on the bike. Should be very simple, just turning some nuts, and activation is as simple as flicking a switch. It's built into the 17 and up ECU. This is the OEM Yamaha Quickshifter. You can get third-party Quickshifters and add them to any bike out there, but this one is quite a bit cheaper than third-party solutions, and it's obviously built for the bike. There's nothing magical about it. It's just a load cell. For anyone that isn't familiar with a Quickshifter, it allows you to at least upshift without using the clutch. And that's done simply because on a motorcycle transmission, it's not like a car. Your gears are always meshed. And all you need to do to shift gears is take load off the engine. So what the computer does is, when it senses you pushing up on the shifter peg, it momentarily cuts the ignition. So there's no load, there's no torque on the transmission because the engine momentarily isn't producing any power. It's just coasting really quickly. So all the power is off the gears. And at the same time, it then actuates the shift using this guy right here. And that's all there is to it. Now, I've run them on many different bikes that I've ridden over the years, and I absolutely love them. I think they're really cool. Do you need them? Absolutely not. But once you have one, you kind of want one. Once you've tried it, you get a little taste. Man, these staples are in there. I'm just going to rip this stuff open. Once you get a little taste of one, especially the more advanced ones, which have downshifting also. That is like playing a video game on the street. It really is. But that requires an auto blipper, a little bit different control. This bike does not even have that option. It's definitely for the more sporty bikes out there. If you get a chance to ride one of those, that's really, really cool. I mean, literally, it's like playing a video game in real life, just tapping the shifter up or down. You still have the manual gears, so it's not like an automatic transmission where you bump shift and you're still going through a torque converter. It's a regular, full-on motorcycle transmission. The actual shifting is just controlled by power. It's not automatic, you still have to do it. But the point is, you're just tapping your foot. You don't really need the clutch unless you come to a stop. But for this guy, we just have the power upshifts, and downshifting are still completely normal shifts. So here's everything in the kit and what we'll need to install. Should be very easy. We've got our zip tie and connector that'll go onto the bracket on the bike, a new nut, the actual rod, a heim joint, rubber boot, cable tie gatherer, the actual quick shifter. We just need some blue Loctite snips, a 4mm Allen key, Allen wrench, an open 10mm, and very importantly, a short straight edge or tape measure in metric. And then we're going to need, I like my trusty old textbook here, or you can use a block of wood. We need to pry up the tank a bit just to get our hand in there, so we need something non-marring to set it down on. That's it. Let's get to the bike. This is going to be easiest to put it up on a pit stand. You can do it on the side stand, but because we're going to be lifting this tank a little bit, especially if it's full of fuel, it's going to be much easier for you to do and safer for scratching things if you have it actually level. So we're going to take off the seat. All we have to do is take off these 2 bracket bolts here, and that'll allow us enough pivot on the tank to get in there. There's just a connector that we have to get access to. We don't have to remove the tank or anything for this procedure. Now the first thing you want to do before we start is note the angle of your shifter so you can get it back to where you want it afterwards. Mine happens to be angled directly in line with that bracket there, so I just have to remember that. First thing we have to do is crack loose the 2 locking nuts. We use our open end 10 with that. The bottom one is reverse thread, so turn it clockwise to loosen it. Crack those both loose. Then we'll use our 4mm Allen key on here and take this completely out of the bracket, and then the whole rod will unscrew from the bottom bracket, which stays in place. There's a little collar on this bolt here. Save all your parts. We're going to reuse most of these stock parts. And there we go. So here's our assembled unit. Let me show you the tips. It's very critical that all these measurements are very carefully planned out. It's all in the instructions, so just take your time and follow it. The zip tie here with the fastener goes right in the middle of this reinforced section. They do give you a measurement. It just works out to right in the middle of it there. So that's probably exactly what it's for. It's just reinforcement for that zip tie. And this will be going to the bike underneath the frame. This is what plugs in right underneath the tank. So here we have the unit itself. We have the heim joint. Then we have the rubber boot that comes with the unit, and that's almost all the way up against the heim joint. Then we have one of the stock nuts, and then that's screwed into the Quickshifter itself. Now, the critical measurement here is from the center of the heim joint to the edge of the Quickshifter body, and that measurement is to be 24 millimeters. So you just screw it in. About 1 rotation is about 1 millimeter of travel, and then do not tighten this down. I just have it hand snug here so it doesn't twist, but don't torque it down with a wrench. Then on this end we have the new nut that came with the unit, then the new shifter, then the stock nut. Run the stock nut all the way up, just leave it loose. This measurement is between the inside of the nut and the body. Don't measure from the inside of the shifter peg, or not shifter peg, shifter rod. And what you're looking for here is 14 millimeters. And again, leave this loose. Now we can go ahead and install it on the bike. This is going to spin and engage the lower heim joint and creep up on here, and what they want is 5 millimeters of thread engagement, so about a width and a half worth of these nuts. And then from there you can adjust a little bit. They do give you a final range, and that'll allow you to shift your peg. So what I'm going to do is mark 5 millimeters up from my nut here so I know where to stop when I'm installing it on the lower. So once I get to that line, I know I'm good, and then I can cinch the stuff down. So now clean off your stock bolt here, put on a couple drops of new blue Loctite, and when we put this on, the electrical connector faces down. Put our bolt on, put our collar through, connect this up. We're not going to fully torque it yet, just get it on there so it's all run in. Now we can screw our new assembly into the bottom mount, and remember this is reverse thread, so go lefty and make sure it's engaging when you start spinning, because you don't want that top to spin without it engaging into the bottom. Just got to loosen my nut up here. I'm going to put the nut right at my mark I made, and we're good. Spin these down. Just get them hand snug here so things don't spin around. Now we torque our top bolt, and this is just 7 foot-pounds, so good and hand tight. Now this is the critical measurement, and it's a wee bit tricky to do. I'm going to have to get down on the ground here and look at it straight on from this way. What you're measuring to and from are the center points of the mounting bolts. So the very center of the heim joints. And it needs to be 258 millimeters plus or minus 1 millimeter. So it does have to be pretty darn precise. So take your time, get down there, get everything measured, make adjustments here if you need to. And now with the overall measurement in spec, I can go ahead and tighten down our 3 lock nuts. And these just go real hand snug. There's a flat here if this one gives you any kind of trouble, so you can get a little bit better grip while you snug it up. And there we go. Now we can slide our rubber boot back over. And we've got this clamp, and it goes around the blue tape and around the body of the Quickshifter right up here. That's just to keep everything neat and tidy. Just make sure it doesn't interfere. Now we just have to route the cable and plug it in. What we have is a little push connector tab on the zip tie that came with the unit, and it goes in this bracket right here. There's a hole in the bracket. This simply pops into place right there. And this end, we're just going to snake up, follow this big bundle of wires up at the tank. Loosen and remove these 2 mounting bolts. And then right in here, you'll see a gray plug right in the middle of the frame there. That's the end of the connector that the new Quickshifter plugs into. So all we have to do is carefully raise up our tank, and this is where the block of wood or textbook or whatever comes in. You just want to put it underneath here. This doesn't come up much, but we don't need much. We just need to get our hand in there. If you got somebody with small hands, that might make it easier. You could use a couple needle nose pliers to kind of grab it and get in there, but we just have to lift this up a little bit, get in there, pop off that gray cap, and plug it in once we have it snaked up. And that's all there is to that. So I'm gonna put the camera down, and I don't know if I can show you this because my hands are going to be in the way, but we'll get it done. Right here. I definitely won't be able to show it to you because I just gotta reach in and grab it. But this is all it is. Get in there, slide this off, connect the connector, which is right there. That's it. Put your seat bolts back in. Again, just hand tight. I think the torque spec on these is something like 5.5 foot-pounds. Not much at all. And put your seat back on. Now, we just have to activate it. I've been told by multiple people that the instructions are a little unclear. What you have to do is, with the key off, hold the shifter up, and what you're doing is putting pressure on the load cell. You're not trying to shift gears, you just need this to be under pressure. And the thing that isn't clear in the instructions is it has to be a lot of pressure, more so than just normal up pressure for doing a shift. So maintain a lot of pressure, then turn the key on and keep holding it for 10 full seconds. And then once you get done with your 10 count, you can go ahead and release on the shifter, and you'll see the quick shift light illuminate. That means the system is enabled. It doesn't mean it's going to be in use during every shift. You can always pull in the clutch and shift completely naturally, but it's on and active for your use while that light is on. If you want to disable it for whatever reason, it's the exact same procedure. Turn the key off, hold up, turn the key on, 10 seconds, release, and it's off. So you can toggle it on and off anytime you want. Let's go for a ride. So what I'm interested in are three things. One, how does it compare to the other brands out there, especially BMW and Ducati, which I consider to be the benchmarks. I think the BMW Pro option is as perfect as it's going to get. Their regular and Ducatis are also very good, a little bit notchy, especially under certain RPMs. So I'll test it out here once I get out onto the road. I also want to see how it does at lower RPMs and lower throttle positions. Some don't really like to be used under wide open throttle. And frankly, I'm not going to be going wide open throttle in every gear. So here we go, no clutch. Not bad. Definitely not as good as Ducati or BMW. There is a bit of a lurch, whereas those systems are seamless. Those are absolutely seamless. It's like a dual clutch car on those. This has a little bit of a hesitation, a little bit of a lurch in between gears. You do get a little pop through the exhaust here if you got the Yoshi. I like that. Buzz down here. So that was obviously at very low RPMs and low throttle positions. It was smooth. I have no complaints about it. Now, beyond the 2,000 RPM hard limit, there's also a 20-kilometer minimum speed limit in order for it to be used. So whatever that is in miles per hour, parking lot speeds are above, basically. So now we'll test it out a little higher RPM. It's got a bit of a notchiness to it. It really does have a hesitation. I mean, the whole bike moves when it shifts. I don't know if it's normal or not because I have no idea how it's supposed to be. But the actual shift is flawless. It's the motor hesitation, the momentary lapse in power. I'm sure it's normal because that's just how it works. But like I said, some bikes, their systems are just designed a little better. And the other brands are much more seamless. I'm going to spin around here. Don't feel like going through a school zone. So for the money, yeah, I dig it. Super cheap for a lot of fun. And it's not like you have to use it. First to second is actually really nice. I was wondering if it was going to have a bigger difference because it has to go through neutral. Nope. I'm reaching for the clutch there instinctively. It's going to take me a long time to kind of remember it's here, and I'm afraid that I'm going to get used to it with muscle memory and on my other bike try to use it. Now it's interesting. Under almost no load, just kind of maintaining speed here, no lurch whatsoever, and it is totally seamless. So the more throttle you give it, the more hesitation there is. I almost want to say it's getting better. It actually feels a little different than when I first started out. Maybe it just had to warm up a little bit. No idea. Let's go down here and do a little more. So let's just try putzing around town speeds. Oh, that's seamless. I think it's just the actual speed of the delay that's different. I can hear it, I can feel it, I definitely notice that the engine is cutting power between shifts. Whereas on other bikes, you don't. It's a lot faster. It's noticeably a lot faster. The engine really doesn't pause, or at least sound or feel like it. I keep going for the clutch. All right, well, I'll say that's a success. Definitely worth the money if you can get it for a reasonable price. Now, MSRP on this is $160, and that's what I got it for, surprisingly. Like I said, good luck finding it. Most of what I had found, at least in the past few months, had been marked up well over $200 US. I would still pay $200. I think this is really cool. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. When there's not a lot of traffic around, that is. Flip around again here. I'm really gonna have to think not to use the clutch. Alright, well, that wraps up this install and little demo. Hope this helps somebody. I'll put the part number below. Search, Google, create alerts, whatever you have to do in at least the next several months. Man, I'm really going to have to break the habit of rolling off the throttle too. That's the other thing. You don't change your throttle position during the shifts. It's just going to be fun. All right, see you later, guys.